Hi, I'm Keith McCullough. Welcome to Real Conversations. Today I want to have a real conversation with a real private investor by the name of Buddy Carter. Buddy and I have gotten to know each other in the current ecosystem. We have a lot to talk about. Buddy spent a lot of time on Wall Street, 17 years, and now he's doing it with his own capital because he can afford to. So, Buddy, welcome, and thanks for taking the time to do this.
It's nice to be here.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to just kind of get into who is this guy, Buddy Carter? Why does Keith McCullough have discussions with Buddy Carter? Let's open this up in a way where people who are watching want to see this pro-to-pro conversation. Why does that matter to you? Why do you want to talk to me?
Sure. Well, 4 or 5 years ago, a very sophisticated friend of mine sent me one of your early looks, and he had a long successful career on Wall Street, and he said the configuration, the content reminded him of me, and he thought I'd be interested in meeting you. So I called you, and that was the first time that we spoke, and you invited me to New Haven. And we talked about the challenge of, I believe it was March or April of 2010. Mm-hmm. So we talked about the markets as they were proving to be very difficult, and how, having spent my career on Wall Street, I knew a little bit about the landscape, and surviving on my own called for different types of activities and different inputs. So I was actively looking for pieces of information that would help me make what I would call risk-appropriate decisions in a very complex world.
We are tasked with evolving and finding the best sources. Can you kind of give your view of history on, call it, what I affectionately call Old Wall Street, that food chain of information sources versus what you're looking for today?
Sure. Well, I spent 17 years on Wall Street, and what I would say is I left in March of 2000, and up until then, there was a fairly structured order to the way all the different type of investors dealt together. Of course, at big banks and brokerage firms, you had fixed income departments, you had equity departments, you had broader capital markets, you had investment banking. But at the firms that I worked at, I would actively wander around the different floors to find out what people thought was important in the world. And I was born and raised in the currency business, and that always had three pieces. It had a currency piece, it had a debt piece, and an equity piece. So we were always looking at the market holistically is I don't know if it's the most appropriate term, but within that approach to the market, there were all these different types of investors, starting with central banks, monetary authorities, sovereign wealth funds, and then to hedge funds and non-bank financial institutions. So I was pretty familiar with the way that different people consumed information. Mm-hmm. I understand that all these different investors had different durations, but we were at a point where we were able to, because we were what they called a center market participant, able to deliver to them very appropriate information on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. It's gotten much more difficult.
Yeah, you had that edge. Being on Goldman's desk, which you uniquely were at a very important time, you had information that other people did not have. Now, what is the difference? Where is the bridge? Where are we today in terms of that, what was potentially proprietary information versus what you see in this current ecosystem, maybe Twitter as a platform or however you want to describe it?
Well, decimalization did change everything, and the currency business was the first large business, the largest business in the world, to go electronic. Right. When EBS was started by a consortium, I think, of 17 different banks, we could then compete very effectively with Citibank and Midland Bank and all the Hong Kong, Shanghai Bank. Mm-hmm. So it was intelligence, and we were very fortunate that we had a very active, diversified group of clients. Mm-hmm. So believe me, when you have a diversified order flow, you've got an options business that is continually looking at different products and durations in terms of puts, calls, and different structures. When you have the simple idea of what do you think is important when a client, although I was a trader, the salespeople always came to us and say, what are the most important things you're looking at? Mm-hmm. I covered the New York Fed for 8 years as a market contact and an intervention source. So I was able to relay to them a more modified view of what we thought was important. Mm-hmm. And today, the world has gotten so much flatter. the hierarchies of the way these participants fit together has changed dramatically, and the electronic forum that which everybody participates is just fundamentally different in terms of dispensing information to the practitioners.